Well, Scott Morrison's handling of the coronavirus crisis has seen a big surge in public support. The latest poll giving the PM the highest approval rating for any leader in more than 10 years. He now leads Anthony Albanese by 53% to 29% as preferred PM. To discuss, I'm joined by One Nation leader Pauline Hanson and Campaign Edge Executive Creative Director Dee Madigan. Good morning to both of you.
Good morning.
So, I've got to say, I didn't think we were still paying attention to polls since they got it so wrong at the last election. But, Pauline, big support not only for the PM personally, but I guess also for the range of packages to help rescue the economy. Out of 10, how would you mark him?
Look, I think he's done very well. We have a crisis on our hands, as has many other countries around the world. The way he's handled it, I think it's been very good. And I don't always agree with everything that he says, but he's taken the role as being leader of the nation very strongly. He's got two very good ministers in Greg Hunt and Peter Dutton as well, so handling that side of things. So, you know, I've got to give him credit for the way he's handled this, and especially he's stepping up to the mark of looking after Australians, making sure that they do have money in their pocket. It's a situation where we've had to close down businesses and protect the health of the people. So I think he's done very well, and that's shown in the polls how the people are supporting him.
Yeah, he's certainly been a steady hand, hasn't he? So out of 10, what would you give him?
Oh, look, I'm not going to put a number on it. I've given him the tick of approval, and I'm keeping a close eye. Mind you, also, we have given them suggestions about backpackers accessing their superannuation. That was from One Nation. Also about students only being able to work up to a certain number of hours a week, not unlimited, because Australians need those jobs. So we're all the time offering them suggestions on how they should be handling this, and so it's about us all working together, and that's what I like about the Morrison government. They do listen. And
I love that he's got the Pauline tick of approval, but you're keeping a close eye on him. Dee, I wanted to ask you, because, the Prime Minister, we know he did struggle to turn around what was considered a disastrous start to handling of the bushfires. How do you think he's doing right now?
Crises tend to favour incumbent governments. It's actually known as the rally behind the flag effect, and we've seen that throughout history. I think in Pearl Harbor, Roosevelt's polling went up 13 points. After 9/11, Bush's went up a massive 40%. We saw Anna Bligh in the flood, 11 points up. They don't necessarily translate, though, to electoral success afterwards. They are what they are at the time.
Yeah, and as you said, our last federal leader to receive numbers like this was Kevin Rudd during the GFC. But another thing I wanted to talk to you both about this morning is the fiasco that is the Ruby Princess, which will now be the focus of a criminal investigation after the cruise ship has become the biggest single source for COVID-19 cases in Australia. Dee, so many questions about why infected passengers were allowed off this ship. Who do you think should take responsibility? Because at the moment it seems that everyone is passing the buck.
Look, they are, and the police will obviously hopefully get to the bottom of this. But I guess the question is, regardless of whether the Carnival crew said the people did or didn't have it, the question should have been asked, have they been actually tested for it? Because if the answer to that is no, then it's also New South Wales Health's responsibility as well. It feels to me like this isn't just Carnival crews at fault, but New South Wales Health as well for taking their word on something when they should have verified it.
Yeah, we know that tests had been done and they were waiting to see whether or not they came back positive or negative when those people were let off the ship. Pauline, it is a criminal investigation. What do you think should be the punishment for anyone found guilty of allowing this to happen? Because we know that mistakes have cost lives here.
Yeah, it has, and I blame the New South Wales government for it. Everyone knew that there was a problem on the Ruby Princess, that people had the coronavirus. They should not have been allowed off the ship. They should have been put into isolation, and it wasn't done. So as far as I'm concerned, the buck stops with the New South Wales government, the Health Minister and the Premier, because the right decisions weren't made. People have died from that. I understand about 11 people have died from the Ruby Princess, but it has spread the disease throughout Australia, the virus, I should say, throughout Australia. So, no, I think the New South Wales State Government have to take responsibility for this.
It really does beg a belief, doesn't it, that, the cruise ship pulls up and they say, we need 2 ambulances, we've got people who are really sick on board. You would think, when we're in the middle of the crisis that we are, that you would take precautionary measures, and they weren't taken, were they, Pauline?
That's exactly right. They weren't. And this happens all the time, is the buck passing. Well, the Australian people will want answers to this, and they want to see someone, their heads have got to roll. You've got too many, people in Parliament. I see it all the time. They're absolutely useless. They shouldn't be in Parliament. They shouldn't be members of Parliament. They've only got there because they're yes people. They can't think for themselves. They can't do anything. They have no knowledge, no experience, absolutely nothing. And this is why you need tough leaders. That's why I'm saying with Scott Morrison, I don't always agree with him, but at least he's prepared to make the tough decisions. And that's what you need when you have a crisis. Now, whoever was Hazzard, head of the health department, and I've heard from people they consider him weak and useless. Well, I'm sorry, heads have to roll over this.
So you think the Health Minister, the New South Wales Health Minister, responsibility falls with him?
Yes, I do, and Berejiklian. She should actually have been directing. She is the leader of that state. Now, that cruise ship came in. Everyone knew there was coronavirus on that ship. Nothing was done about it.
Yeah.
So I'm sorry, someone has to take responsibility for this.
No, you're right, it certainly is a debacle. But there's just one more thing I want to talk to you about this morning because, we saw over the weekend this stay-at-home message. It isn't getting through. We saw beaches on the Gold Coast and in Sydney over the weekend. There was still a hive of activity. And, of course, it forced police then to close down some of those beaches and, ruining it for everyone. Pauline, what's your message to people here who continue to ignore this important health advice?
Look, I think it's a mixed message, Ali, right? People need the fresh air and they need to get out in the sunshine because the vitamin D that they get from the sun is definitely going to help them. And they need exercise. You can't keep people cooped up in their homes and their small units, whatever it may be, whether it's children. They have to exercise. I'm at Yeppoon. There's no problem with people coming here. There's no problem with social distancing. People have to be aware of it, take responsibility of your own actions and don't be close to people. But you can't shut down the beaches where that is really good for the people to be. And then you have people get on public transport, packed in together. I'm sorry, I don't understand this. So people take responsibility for your own actions, keep your distances from people, especially we do it in the shopping centres, and when I went shopping, people did. So the beaches is where people should be going, but keep your distance.
Yeah, there's a good point there. It's easier to do that in Yeppoon than in Sydney. That bloke behind you is enjoying the waves all to himself. But Dee, it's difficult, isn't it? I would think, though, the rules are pretty simple. We saw that with the beach. Go down and have a swim, but leave. We still see people just hanging out and sunbaking like it's a normal autumn day.
I know, it's like, this is why we can't have nice things. And Pauline's right, the beaches should be open, but what we've seen with Manly is they can't be. There just needs to be a rule that just says you can't sit. Maybe that would make it clear to people, don't sit anywhere, you have to keep moving. And because I do think there is still some confusion, but there's also some people who aren't confused, they're just stupid.
Yeah, and you know what? The stupid ones ruin it for everyone else.
Totally.
The rule should just be show some common sense and we'd all be fine. Pauline and Dee, thanks for joining us this morning.
Pleasure.